Okay, folks, I have returned. I apologize for the little delay there. I also realized that I actually didn't have the background audio to keep you guys preoccupied while we were doing stuff, so I apologize. There's a good technical start for me. But I am now joined by our first guest, Vic Chao. Thank you very much for being here today, Vic.
Very happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to this. Really excited about the fans of Final Fantasy. They've been awesome since Final Fantasy VII Remake got released.
Well, I got some interesting questions for you that I think one of which I think you'll find quite amusing when we get there.
Okay.
But I'm just basing that question on some of the great tweets I've seen that you've received over the last couple months there. But first and foremost, how is COVID-19 treating you? Have you adapted quite well?
I would say adapted as well as can be expected. So, are we overjoyed about all this? Of course not. But honestly, we're very, very blessed. We have a home, we have food, we have diapers, we have formula. So it's like, what do I have to complain about? My heart breaks for people who don't have what they need right now, because it's like I sit there and I think to myself things like, oh, if I had a backyard, that would make this so much better. This would be so much different. And then I realized that other people are saying that about, shelter or food or diapers for their kids and stuff like that. And they love their kids every bit as much as I do. And for them to not have like the basic necessities of life, that's heartbreaking. So I actually didn't mean to jump into a missive, but as long as we're already up there, I encourage people, if you're able to, please donate to any food banks or diaper banks that you can, because people just need it. It's a tough time.
I would like to point out, and I hope you don't mind me doing so, when I approached you, and as with all guests, we do offer an honorarium for your time. And straight off the bat, you said give my honorarium to a food bank or a diaper donation charity. So I just want to say kudos to you, because that's really good of you. And I completely understand where you're coming from. Like, I live out in the country. I have a nice big yard that I can run around with the kids and do stuff. And even I'm like, oh, I can't see my friends. I can't do this. And I find it challenging. But I have to remind myself, my God, there are so many people worse off than I am right now. But it's certainly been a challenge for everyone, I think, especially from a social setting, right? Because you can't see people that you care about. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate that, Alex.
No worries at all. Thank you. So, We've touched on COVID because it's affecting absolutely everyone's life, so it's really unavoidable topic. But let's talk about why we're here. We're here to talk about the Final Fantasy VII Remake and the fact that you voice Tseng. Now, what I find really interesting, and I can't avoid the question, I want to get right into it. Are you quite aware that there's a lot of thirst for this character? Like, I could feel the warmth coming from people just by reading their tweets, like if there was a thermal scanner, I swear there are certain parts of the body that would just be dark red, reading the tweets back. So I'm curious as to what it's been like for you. We'll talk about pre-release. Let's talk about post-release. What's it been like reading the thirst for the character?
The thirst. That's an excellent way to put it. It's really funny. This thirst for song was not something I was aware of until probably about maybe a month ago or so.
Right.
So prior to that, the game released, I was so excited, got to share this information that has been burning a hole in my brain for a year or something like that. And finally I get to tell people, hey, I'm Tseng in Final Fantasy VII. And I got a lot of wonderful messages and encouraging tweets and emails and stuff like that, saying that they loved my work and stuff. And that was very flattering to hear. About a month ago was when it came to my attention that somebody had created an online poll for who has the horniest fans.
Right.
And Tseng crushed everybody.
Oh, did he?
Tseng crushed everybody. So there are quite a few fans who are horny for Tseng, which is which is very flattering. I have to say, it's very flattering that they like the character so much, and I'm flattered to be a part of it and to bring a little bit of happiness to people's lives, I guess.
Happiness. Yeah.
That's the phrase I'll use.
I like that. Thank you for making it family friendly. So let's go back. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. And I assume was it an agent that brought the part to you, or did you see a listing for a part that you thought, oh, I want to give that a shot?
It was my agents. I've got some wonderful agents, Vox agency in Los Angeles, and they're just a good bunch. And it's a huge blessing to work with people who are talented and friendly people, good people. Right. And so they sent me this audition, and of course it had a code name on it. So video games, as I'm sure you probably know, are super secretive. So
I know. So we actually had a special guest once at an event. I won't name who it was. Got up on stage and said the code name of the game right on stage in front of like 700 people.
Oh, really?
And we all just looked at each other and went, "Oh, so that was good."
Oh wow! Okay, interesting.
So don't do that.
Yeah. So. Okay, thank you.
Because the 7 Remake code name is still very much a very kept secret.
Thank you for not pressing me on that. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'll send the boys around.
So there was a code name, and I didn't know what it was. The audition material was very interesting because they gave you the material, but then they played the Japanese voiceover, and you were asked to not replicate it, but basically make your audition reminiscent of the original Japanese speakers in his delivery. And of course, that's tricky with different languages because, the tones of one language can mean remarkably different things in another language. And of course, as English speakers, we're just used to our own delivery. Mm-hmm. So if it's question, it goes up. If it's an imperative, it goes down, and languages are just different. But it was a challenge to try and deliver it in English in a strong way while still at the same time respecting the original Japanese delivery. So it's an interesting balancing act, and that continued for the actual recording sessions as well.
Okay. So you go to the audition, you do your piece, you go home. How long was it until you got the call or email to say, hey, we want to bring you back?
So I think probably, there was a few different roles that I auditioned for. And I think that I think it was probably like maybe 2 or 3 months afterwards that I was told by my agent, hey, they booked you for Code Word. Mm-hmm. And I was oh, okay, cool. Great. Wonderful. Very excited. And I show up at the studio, and I still don't actually know what the project is.
Do you remember what they made you read for the first audition? Do you remember? It must have been something pretty vague for you not to be able to put 2 and 2.
Yeah, it was kind of vague, but I do remember something like, take care of it. I do remember a passage that involved like, take care of this person. This person means a lot to me, type of thing. And,
right.
And so I remember there were some commands that sounded a little bit more there were some lines that were a little bit more commanding and a little bit more cold is probably too strong to describe it, but we'll just say cold for now. But then there was this thing of, take care of this person. This person's really important to me, that I remember, oh, okay, there's caring in this person too.
So a hard ass, but with a little bit of care.
Yes, yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yes.
It explains the character quite nicely now in retrospect. So you find out you got the part, and you said it was about 2 or 3 months. And from all the voice actors I've spoke to, I think that's pretty much what everyone said, that they kind of reached a point where they just forgot about the part and didn't think that they were going to get a call for it. And then they found out that they got it. So you go in, and it's, even at this time, you still didn't know what it was, right? So that must have been a bit of a challenge.
It was. And in fact, I remember them just saying, walking in, being excited to work this role. And then they come out to greet me, and they're like, oh, yeah, so this is Final Fantasy. And I'm sure my jaw just went, wow, mm-hmm. I'm working on Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. So that was hugely exciting and just an absolute thrill to realize that I was getting to work on one of the the biggest franchises of all time in video games.
Now, at the time when you would have gone for the audition, you would have known it was Square, though, right? But you wouldn't have known what game it was, or did you not know at all?
I don't think I recall reading that it was Square Enix.
Okay, they may have done it through a different production company to mask it even further, because as you know, like the remake was a massively kept secret, right? Like it was not something that was like, even from my understanding, when there were meetings at Square, even when they would talk about it, it wouldn't, like on the slideshows, on the PowerPoints, it would just say that other project, or it would have a code name. They would never mention the remake ever.
Really?
Yeah, it was very.
So you've seen some of these PowerPoints and stuff?
Moving on.
Okay, sorry.
Don't spoil my contacts now.
Oh,
the lawyers will be calling within minutes. So you go in, you start recording for it, and then we're leading up to the release, and by this point you know what's happening, you know what's coming. Like, what was it like to work on a project like Final Fantasy?
Oh, it was a huge thrill, and I take NDAs really seriously, so I don't tell anybody about this stuff, not even my wife. So I remember. So I couldn't even tell my wife until it got released, and I remember, like this has come up before. I remember when I voiced Mortal Kombat 10, voicing Goro, and and my wife was like, "You worked on Mortal Kombat and you didn't tell me?" Mm-hmm. So similar sort of thing with Final Fantasy, but it was a huge thrill knowing that I was working on this, and it was great. The recording process was really interesting because there was, of course, the director and the sound engineer, and there was a gentleman who spoke both English and Japanese, and he's also wired in with contacts in Japan.
Right.
So everybody's listening to my English, including Japan, because everybody wants to feel satisfied with the delivery, that it suits the English needs, but still respects the Japanese delivery and stuff like that. So it was an interesting tightrope, and the precision that was needed for it was very interesting. I really enjoyed the process.
I always hear from voice actors, it doesn't matter what game we're talking about within the series, they're always saying that one of the biggest challenges that they had was trying to fit the same dialogue into like this small chunk of time. And as you said, yes, the dialogue of, say, Japanese, they talk quite a bit faster and it have a completely different way of delivering it, and then they have to translate that into English but also make it fit within a certain frame, in a certain mouth movement. That's got to be a hell of a challenge.
It is a challenge, and yes, exactly. It's like you see kind of like the renderings of the animation and knowing how much time you have, and it's just like sometimes you just got to squeeze it in. And and if it works, then great.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to Adam Crosdale, who voices Ignis in 15, and he said at one point the director, or may have been the producer, turned around and was like, "Yeah, I need you to do that about half a second faster." And he's like, "Come on, like, it's just not possible." So the game is produced, and then you've got that waiting period of time when you've recorded your part and you're just waiting for the bubble to burst. And you already said that, it was really kind of excruciating to have to keep that secret. I'm not sure I could keep a secret from my wife that long. She would probably kill me too. But when you finally you were able to push out the information and say, "Look, this is me. I am that voice." What was the instant feedback from the community like?
That may have been the first time that my Twitter blew up, I think. So I remember just just saying, "Oh, hey, I'm Tseng in Final Fantasy VII Remake," and then I just checked my phone, the next day or something like that, and it's just like this tidal wave of tweets and hearts and likes and comments and retweets and thirst. Yes, exactly. So it makes me feel very very warm and fuzzy and appreciated.
Now, how familiar were you with the Final Fantasy series before you had gone into this audition, or specifically, how familiar were you with the 7 story?
I knew of it. I never actually played it. But they all did a really good job of filling me in on Tseng's character, and particularly his relationship with Aerith, which is wonderfully interesting. And I remember that when I was delivering my lines, sometimes I was struggling because I couldn't figure out if Tseng was a good guy or a bad guy, you know. And finally, I was just like, so is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? Or is he ambiguous? And they're like ambiguous. And then all of a sudden, then things clicked a lot more because I realized, okay, he's just like all of us. We're all, we all have our elements where, we can be maybe a little bit callous, but we're also caring about the people that we love. So that was kind of a key adjective that I used with my delivery with Tseng is he's not a bad guy. He's ambiguous. He has his goals that can be single-mindedly, single-purposely moving towards, but at the same time, for the people that he loves, he takes care of them.
Fair enough. So then now we're here. We're past the launch. We're months into it. Many people have completed the game. Have you had an opportunity to try the game?
No, I have not. I have this ginormous list of games that I cannot wait to start playing again. I actually had to stop gaming sometime in my, I think it was, sometime in my 30s I had to stop.
Is it because of kids?
No, but like everything stopped. Everything stopped once kids kicked in.
How many kids do you have?
We've got two,
okay.
And they're wonderful, wonderful kids that take away, all your time and sleep, but they pay back in love and poop, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
love and poop. Exactly.
Every time I get on a stream or a conversation with a guest, I always have my daddy moment because I have two girls. I have two young girls. They're 4 and 5, and finding time does not exist.
Exactly.
Blessed be my wife who's taken my children out for the next couple hours, so the house is nice and quiet. So I can completely appreciate that time is impossible. There's no such thing as time when you've got kids.
Exactly.
But hopefully, if you do find some time, you should give it a shot because it is really well done.
I can't wait. When my kids go off to college, I've got this ginormous list of all the games that I want to play again.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with Final Fantasy VII Remake, but also going into Mortal Kombat 10 and Psychonauts 3, which was probably Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts was probably one of my favorite games that I ever played, and I know that the sequel is out. Anyway, I've got a giant laundry list of games that I can't wait to play once I actually have time.
I don't know why I keep ordering games. Most of them are still in cellophane on the shelf, right? So it's an evil habit. So we're going to go some of the questions from the community here. So if you do have a question, folks, throw it in the chat and one of our mods will pick it up. And I'm just going to look over some of the questions that we've already had here. So let's take a look here. So some of these we've kind of already covered, and forgive me if I get any names wrong, but it's either Casey or Cassie. Says, Tseng is one of my favorites and you did an incredible job. What was it like voicing such a stern and serious character? Were there any challenges or favorite aspects of the performance of the character?
Yes, absolutely. It was like I was saying, where I was trying to deliver him stern and just very strong and stern was my instinct when reading some of the lines, but then it didn't jive with some of the other things going on. And it wasn't until I went for ambiguous that I realized that freed me up basically to make him a little bit more three-dimensional and fully human of a character rather than just this strong callous guy who just shouts commands and stuff who just gives callous commands. So and I think that tends to be a rule of thumb with actors, where it's like if you're playing somebody who is ostensibly a bad guy, you don't want to think of him as a bad guy. You want to think of him as misunderstood or moving towards his goal oriented, because otherwise he just comes out as a bad guy at all, and 300 lines of just being a bad guy gets a little bit tiring after a while.
Tseng almost has this Like when he's talking, it's almost like there's most of it. There's no emotion, and then when Aerith is involved, there's just that little hint of warmth, right? So that's got to be quite a challenge to deliver that, as you said, that kind of cold exterior, but that little bit of warmth on the inside. So bravo to you. So another question here from Brogan says, hi, Vic. Actually, I believe that Brogan was the one who tweeted out and asked you if you wanted to do this. So thanks to the individual for helping establish that.
Thank you, Brogan.
Thank you. She says, thank you for taking the time to be here. If you could have played any other character in the remake, who would you have liked to have played?
Oh, my gosh. I'm blank. John Eric Bentley's character.
Oh, Barrett?
Thank you very much. Who doesn't want a machine gun for an arm? I love John Bentley. We've actually been friends for, I want to say probably 20 years, actually. Right. And he's a wonderful guy. And actually, I didn't recognize his name when I realized he was on the cast list, because I just think of him as John Bentley, not John Eric Bentley. I was like, who's this John Eric Bentley guy, And then when I realized it was John Bentley, I was like, oh, man, that's awesome. So, yes, if I could have been any other one, definitely John Bentley's character, Barrett, because he's awesome. John Bentley's awesome, Barrett's awesome, and I want a machine gun for an arm.
I do apologize if you can hear a cat meowing too. My cat is getting quite intense back there. I think he thinks that nobody's home, so I do apologize.
Hey, come here. Pop-Tart, come here. Well, here. Come here, doggy. As long as your cat's here, I'll bring my dog up here. So here's Pop-Tart right here.
Hello there.
Hello. Pop-Tart.
Oh, I think my cat's actually come in now.
Oh, okay, there we go. It's time to show the pets off.
Pixel. Come on, then. I'm led by the door. If you think I'm coming to get you, you fluffy little bugger, I'm not. Cats are such ignorant creatures. They're just like, they know that they want to come to you, but they're like, no, I'll lay here and you come to me, but no.
That is the nature of a cat.
Yes.
My dog's just like, what's going on?
Well, thank you for easing the burden of the cat meowing in the background. Now, on the topic of John Bentley, and I do agree that John is absolutely, I love John, such a wonderful human being. John actually had a question for you. John said, just how awesome does John Bentley think you are? That's
okay. That for a second I thought I was going to have to talk about how awesome John Bentley is, but how awesome John Bentley thinks I am. Oh my gosh!
Let's scale it on 1 to 10. What do you think?
On a scale from 1 to 10, how does John Bentley think about me? Probably on a scale from 1 to 10, 378 jillion, I would have to say.
Sounds about right. I think that's
his admiration for me knows no bounds. I wish he'd stop showing up in my house, and peeking through the windows. But other than that, it's all right.
God bless John. So Tabby asks, what was your favorite moment that you recorded? Do you have any moments that really stood out when you were recording the line and you're like, oh, I really enjoyed delivering that?
I can think of two that I really enjoyed. One was for the trailer, when the trailer was first dropping, and the camera pans up to Tseng and he says, "You led us on a merry chase, Aerith," and I really enjoyed that, especially with its impact.
They used it in the trailer. Yeah, I was going to say that. As soon as you said it, I kind of looked up and then paid more attention. I was reading somebody but one of the questions was, can we have Pop-Tart as a guest? Unfortunately, that's not a possibility. But that, as you said, was a very iconic line. It really grabs your attention.
And we recorded that so many times just to get the timing, just to get the delivery exactly right. And it was totally worth it, because seeing it in the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, I totally understand why we work so hard on that one. Mm-hmm. So that one I really enjoyed. And as well, the flashback to Aerith when she's a child. And Tseng is talking to her and explaining, you're one of the ancients. That was I really enjoyed that, because again, it's Tseng's soft side, his caring side, and just to be able to do that sense exercise of taking you back to somebody that you care very much about, that you want to protect and teach and mentor. That was special to me.
Cool. We got a few questions here, so I'm going to fly through as many as I can. I have a question from Eve. Have you ever considered cosplaying Tseng? It'd be quite an easy one to do, I think.
It's kind of funny. I actually considered putting on the suit and the tie and pulling my hair back and everything, and my wife was just like, "Don't do that."
Yeah, get a like a good wig.
Yes, that's true.
The marking and a suit. I think you could pull it off.
Yeah, I may.
I'm going to hold you to it.
Do that,
I think we can say that if there's enough thirst on Twitter, then we can make it happen.
There's enough thirst. Maybe we might give it a try. I think it would be so much fun to go to Comic-Con one day dressed as Tseng and just throwing out song lines through Comic-Con.
For sure. We have a question from Rebecca. Rebecca says, did you put your own interpretation on Tseng into the role, or did you go completely by what the director told you, what he wanted to portray? Did you throw any curveballs in there and say, no, I think it would be better like this. This is kind of how I want to do it?
I think it's always a collaborative effort. As well, the best works are always a collaborative effort. So definitely there are times when I feel my delivery, where the delivery warrants a certain spin, and there will be times when the director wants it done a certain way. And most frequently it gets resolved just by talking and saying, what's going on, and finding out a little bit of why one person wants it the other way. And my experience in general tends to be that everybody's receptive to the input, and we usually find times when, sometimes we'll be like, oh yeah, the director's got the right interpretation. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, I've got the right interpretation, and we all work it through. But that's where it's wonderful, the communicative, collaborative effort, and the backstory is always super helpful. Again, once I realized that Tseng is an ambiguous character, that just helps so much with my delivery.
Mm-hmm. One final question is from Claire. If you played a clip of Tseng, do you think your kids would recognize it's you?
Yes, we did the trailer. I played the trailer, and my son was kind of watching, half paying attention, not really. And then
how old are your kids?
I prefer not to say, just because I don't know why. I don't even know why. But
that's all good.
But yeah, no, I understand, and I appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, I remember suddenly he got attention. Said, "Hey, that's you." Mm-hmm. So yes, they can hear. It's very fun when they get to hear my voice coming out of the blue, whether it's an animation or a video game or a TV show. It's very fun when they suddenly snap to attention and realize that daddy's on the TV or the computer.
I know when John let his kids watch, they were just like, whatever. John was like, come on, this
is a big deal, man.
I know it's not Call of Duty, but come on, this is big. So, well, look, Vic, thank you very much for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me and chat with the community. And, the doors of KupoCon are always open. We usually don't go through this kind of format. We'd usually be all together, hundreds, if not thousands of us, all celebrating Final Fantasy. But I do appreciate you, A, taking the time to be here, and B, thank you for agreeing to give your honorarium to a good cause, especially during such a difficult time for, everyone. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much to KupoCon and the fans of Final Fantasy. You guys are awesome and hilarious and just, so encouraging. I mean, everyone just been so warmth and welcoming, and it makes me feel like I'm part of the family. So thank you, everybody.
You certainly are part of the extended Final Fantasy family, which seems to just constantly grow now. It's a huge family. Well, just stay with me just for 1 second, Vic. And folks, I will be back with Robbie Damon in just a few moments.